Hello and welcome to Cyclocosm.com's How the Race Was Won. While many of you are out racing cyclocross already, or at least getting fat off Belgian beer while others race cyclocross, the European road season is just now winding through its last few events. The oldest and flattest of these season-ending races is Paris Tour, the real Sprinters Classic. Unlike that fake Sprinters Classic in April, with its steep cobbled climb and pack-shattering descent, the Paris Tour finishing stretch, 3 ramrod straight kilometers, has been the death of many a late break. With little in the way of insurmountable obstacles or remaining race schedule to think about, riders are generally unafraid to roll the dice on long-shot odds at Paris Tour. This year's race was no different, with a group of 10 riders escaping early and running out their advantage to a peak of 7 minutes, while behind, the sprinters' teams collaborated somewhat to manage the gap. To hear Michael Berry tell it, this radio-fueled pattern of racing is the demise of cycling. But I reject this notion. When Albert 93's Jonathan Thierry began attacking at 28k to go, it certainly didn't hurt his chances of success or the quality of viewing to have a race director telling him about some upcoming sharp bends and climbs. Likewise, if the pack behind were utterly confident of a group finish, it's highly doubtful powerful squads like QuickStep and Silence Lotto would waste powerful lieutenants like Steven de Jong and Royce Sentiens on probing attacks at 22k to go. If nothing else, the number of chase-disrupting attacks from the main field suggests that the finish of this race is viewed as anything but a fait accompli. But I digress. Thierry's attacks thinned the break to 6 riders, 2 of whom, Rabobank's Matty Heyman and Vacances Soleil's Art Verhouten, had notable bunch sprinters back in the group. Small wonder then that Tom Wieler's used a shortish climb at 12k to go to separate himself from the rest of the break and secure some camera time, if not a win, for his Skil-Shimano squad. Silence Lotto's Greg Van Emeret seized the opportunity and attacked in a massive gear as the peloton hit one of several small climbs towards the end of the race. Surprisingly, he was joined shortly thereafter by Quick.Step captain Tom Boonen. Last year's winner, Philippe Gilbert, must have immediately sensed the opportunity for a race-winning selection, as he was the first rider to begin storming across the gap. Vacances Soleil's sprinter and Vuelta stage winner Borut Bozic put in a big effort to stay even with the sprightlier Gilbert, and as the next group of riders began looking around for help, at 8k to go, the final selection had been made. I'm not quite sure why Boonen went with this group. Forcing a late selection does indeed make sense, as Boonen seems to have lost a step in group gallops this year. Driving the pace in a group that consists of the reigning Paris Tour champ, one of his teammates, and a proven group sprinter seems almost like hubris on the part of the former world champion. As the group continued to press its advantage, Gilbert did Boonen something of a favor, continuing to up the pace as his teammate Van Evermet fell off the back. Somewhat miraculously, the tail-gunning Bozic was able to hop around the fading Silence Lotto rider and maintain contact. As Van Evermet fell even further back, Filippo Bizzato made a desperate jump, hoping somehow to be able to cross the near-insurmountable gap in the remaining 6k of racing. The leading trio rode well together, all taking turns in holding Bizzato and the chasing pack at bay. The futzing didn't begin until just inside the final kilometer, as Gilbert angrily flicked his arm to signal Bozic to pull through. The Slovenian eventually complied, and the group maintained that order. Gilbert made his jump early, 300 meters to go, and wasn't exactly coy about it. Both Boonen and Bozic turned their heads to watch as the Silence Lotto rider shot by, which generally isn't the best way to get on terms. Rather than jump to Gilbert's wheel, Bozic continued to crank along on his own line, and a second look back seems to indicate he was hoping Boonen would be the one to close the distance. The Belgian champ, for his part, seemed indecisive about who to follow, before flicking his bike back behind Bozic. Boonen was likely worried about the distance from which Gilbert attacked. As the replay showed, Boonen was clearly faster and could have caught Gilbert by responding immediately, but that would have risked catching the Silence Lotto rider too quickly, giving Bozic potentially enough time to come out of Boonen's draft for the win. Bozic faced the same unenviable decision, but with worse legs and in a worse position. In a display of savvy that's near impossible to impart through a radio, Gilbert's attack brilliantly neutralized his speedier breakaway companions, and brought home another late-season classic win for a Silence Lotto squad that had been dominated throughout the spring. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that's how the race was won.